It's the car that at times I thought was never going to arrive, but 71 years after the original Series 1 Land Rover launched, and after years of concept, speculation, and probably quite a few arguments in the Land Rover design office, the all-new Defender is here. Actually, hang on a minute. Yeah, it's definitely real. So, we're lurking in the woods at the Land Rover Experience Eastner to give you a proper look around both versions of the car, the 3-door 90 and the 5-door 110. But before we get into the detail, and there is a huge amount of detail, a thought for the day. There are people out there, most of them with beards much longer than my one, that will disapprove of the new Defender. However it would have turned out. That's because nothing could possibly match the integrity, the functionality, the slab-sided beauty of the old car. Well, I'm sorry, Farmer Giles, it's charming, the old Defender, but it's polluting, and if I'm quite frank, it's crap to drive. This car will be better in every measurable way and will sell in much greater numbers around the world. And in a way, that was Land Rover's problem with this car, that it had to appeal to the Land Rover faithful, but also bring in new customers for the brand. Once you've picked either a 90 or a 110, and from one of 5 trim levels, you're then faced with a list of 170 possible optional extras. Bit overwhelmed? Land Rover has created 4 accessory packs to lend a hand. First, the Explorer pack. Think the full bare grills, so snorkel, roof rack, mud flaps, roof ladder. Then, the Adventure pack. More Peak District than Amazon Rainforest, so equipment includes a portable shower and integrated air compressor. Then, the Country pack. For muddy wellies and curb appeal down the village pub, think wheel arch protection and fancy scuff plates. And lastly, the Urban pack. The full big rims Cairn treatment with up to 22-inch alloys. Okay, we need to talk about the design. I'm going to focus on the 90 just because I believe it to be the much better looking car, but the details of course apply across the 90 and the 110. And the first thing before we get into the details is to talk about the overall shape of this car. It does have a pleasing boxiness to it, a bit like the G-Wagon, a bit like the Wrangler, a bit like the Suzuki Jimny. And the reason for that is because short overhangs, lots of ground clearance, slab sides. That's the shape you want for an off-roader, so that's the shape it is. But unlike the old Defender, which had extremely flat, ripply surfaces on it, there isn't actually any flat panels on this car. It's all subtly curved and lightly muscled, and the best example of that is the wheel arch. Just look at the way this pops out here. It looks absolutely fantastic. All right, we'll go around the details now, starting at the front. This one has the optional winch, so obviously you know this car means business straight away. And then you get the headlights. I love these. They look tough, like the car's narrowing its eyes, preparing itself for some sort of assault. But when you get up close, there's lots and lots of fine detailing in there. The bonnet, you've got a bonnet bulge, very nice. And these checker plates up here that come as standard. Come around the side a bit. The wheels, oh, I do love these. The steel wheels, 18-inch steel wheels, painted white. These are standard, but you can get up to 22-inch rims if your car isn't going to be leaving the King's Road. Moving on, actual door handles. Look at this, none of this flush fitting pop out when you walk near it nonsense. No, proper door handles that won't break. This square here, I think this is going to generate quite a lot of chat. It's called the signature graphic. It is optional, so you can remove it if you don't like it, and there's some storage on the other side because it's a Defender. It has to be handy. And follow me around the back. I have to say, I love how abrupt the rear end is, he says as he steps in a massive puddle. Well, it is a Land Rover. Probably not good for aero, but true to the original and just such a beautiful design feature. Speaking of which, these taillights. So the whole car is designed to excel in off-road environments, but it's got these little jewel-like details, which of course the old one never have. Absolutely love those. And of course, a rear hinged rear tailgate, pretty heavy with the wheel attached, but there we go. It has a boot. This is the 90, of course. It's a 5-door model. The 110 over there is a 7-seater. 7 seats are optional, or a 5+2 as Land Rover like to call it, because it's got slightly less space than the Discovery. But wait, there's more, because the Defender has an extra little trick up its sleeve. Now, this might just look like a couple of cup holders here, but actually it's something much more clever. If I lift this up, Look at that. There is the option of a third jump seat in the front. It's a fantastic USP. The last car I remember having that was the Honda FR-V. Just a bit of housekeeping actually. You can have this in the 110, but not if you order the third row of seats. Right, the interior. Any current Defender owner is going to choke on their pint of scrumpy when they see this. Look, I've got buttons, I've got digital dials, I've got another screen in the centre of the dash. It's properly comfortable, this. Look, I can turn the steering wheel without crushing my man bits, and my nose isn't pressed up against the windscreen. The main bones of this interior are this beam that runs right across the dash. A magnesium alloy beam creates this really useful shelf here in front of the passenger, but it's also structural. So these handles at either end, well, you could push or pull the car along with those. I have to say, overall, Land Rover has done a really good job here of striking that kind of utilitarian note that Defender owners want, with exposed rivets on the door, but also with plush modern materials that will appeal to the high-end SUV buyer. Of course, it's insanely capable off-road. Variable height, self-leveling air suspension is standard on 110s, optional on 90s. You can control the diffs, select a low range mode for the gearbox, or you can just put it in auto terrain response mode, let the computers take care of it, and watch the magic unfold on the central screen or the head-up display. Just demonstrating the fabric roof here for you. But more importantly, wading depth in this car is 900mm. Ground clearance is 291mm, which means you can drive over a wine bottle stood on its end and not knock it over. The payload is 900 kilograms, of which you can carry on the 90 model around 120 kilograms on the roof. And if you order the front winch like on this model, well, it can pull itself slowly up a vertical wall. But not while you're hanging out the roof, obviously. Underneath, the Defender is all new. A new aluminium monocoque with fully independent suspension. And to ensure said suspension was tough enough, they repeatedly drove it at a 200mm curb at 25 miles an hour. Engine choices include JLR's new supercharged and turbocharged petrol straight 6 with 400 brake horsepower. Or there's a turbo 2 litre with 300 horsepower, or you can have a 2 litre diesel with 200 or 240 horsepower. A plug-in hybrid will follow a little later too. So how much then for the tougher, techier new Defender? Well, the 110 model starts at about 45 grand. The 90, which goes on sale a little bit later, starts at about 40 grand. Yes, it's quite a lot of money, but I still want one. In fact, in case you're wondering, that 90 there is pretty much my perfect spec, albeit with the 400 horsepower inline 6. And do you know what? If the new Defender doesn't do it for you, don't worry, don't get your knickers in a twist. There's still plenty of old ones out there. They're just not as good.